Every painful relationship has a moment you don't want to face. The moment you realize that the people closest to you are also the ones draining your strength the most. Maybe it's family, maybe it's a friend you've known for years. But something changed. Their words feel sharper now, their presence feels heavier, and the moment they enter the room, your peace quietly disappears. Here's the truth most people avoid. You are not required to tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or emotional exhaustion just because there is history, blood, or shared memories. Stoic philosophy reminds us that your first responsibility is to protect your mind, your time, and your inner peace, even if that means stepping away from people who feel entitled to hurt you. Today we're going to look at 8 clear signs that it may be time to cut ties or create distance, even with people you once cared about, not out of anger, but out of self-respect and clarity. 1. They consistently belittle you. There is a quiet kind of damage that doesn't leave visible scars, but leaves you questioning your value. It shows up in small remarks, subtle tones, and jokes that somehow always sting more than they should. When someone repeatedly downplays your achievements, mocks your effort, or treats your goals like childish fantasies, that isn't love. That's someone slowly wearing down your sense of self. Belittling is rarely loud. It isn't always shouting or open insults. More often it hides behind masks, sarcasm that cuts, advice that talks down to you, comparisons designed to make you feel small. You share something you're excited about, and they respond with a raised eyebrow. You talk about a plan, and they laugh before you even finish. They call it honesty, humor, or keeping you grounded. But notice this: their honesty never lifts you up. Their humor never protects you, and their version of grounding never helps you grow. Stoic philosophy teaches that insults reveal more about the speaker than the one receiving them. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the behavior of others is their burden, not yours. A person who constantly tries to diminish others is often trying to cover their own insecurity. Belittling is projection disguised as concern. It is insecurity reaching for control. It is envy wearing the costume of tough love. The real danger isn't the insult itself, it's how easily it becomes normal. You start adjusting your voice, your dreams, even your personality, just to avoid being mocked. You choose silence over excitement because you don't want to feel foolish. You begin living below your potential simply to keep the peace with someone who has no interest in seeing you rise. A healthy person celebrates your growth. A grounded friend supports your ambition. Someone who truly values you doesn't need to shrink you to feel tall. When someone belittles you again and again, it's a clear sign of broken respect and misaligned values. The Stoic response isn't to argue, defend yourself, or beg to be understood. It is to observe the pattern, recognize the disrespect, and withdraw emotional access. You can't force someone to treat you better, but you can choose not to stay where your worth is repeatedly denied. If someone makes you feel smaller every time you share your truth, your wins or your dreams, that's not a relationship. It's a slow demolition of your confidence. And the most self-respecting step you can take is to walk away from anyone who benefits from your pain. Respect is not negotiable. 2. They never take responsibility for anything. One of the clearest signs a relationship has become unhealthy is when the other person refuses to take ownership of their actions. You know the type. Every mistake is someone else's fault. Every conflict exists because you overreacted. Every consequence is blamed on bad luck, bad timing, or bad people. Never them. When someone constantly avoids accountability, you're not dealing with simple immaturity. You're dealing with someone who will drain your emotional energy one excuse at a time. People who refuse responsibility are experts at rewriting reality. They twist conversations, deny things they clearly said, shift blame onto you, or rely on selective memory to paint themselves as the victim. Confront them about something they did, and suddenly they're confused or deeply hurt. Hold them accountable, and they accuse you of being dramatic, unfair, or too sensitive. It's a cycle: blame, deflection, guilt, repeat. This behavior isn't accidental. It's calculated self-protection. Admitting fault requires humility, emotional maturity, and self-awareness. Those who lack these qualities would rather distort reality than face their own flaws. Stoic philosophy teaches that an honest person examines their own judgments before criticizing others. Epictetus wrote that a wise mind focuses more on correcting itself than accusing the world. But someone who refuses responsibility does the opposite. They protect their ego at the cost of your sanity. Over time, this dynamic trains you to carry emotional weight that isn't yours. You apologize just to end the conflict. You start doubting your memory, your intentions, even your character. You feel like you're constantly fixing problems you didn't create, as if keeping the peace is entirely your responsibility. It's exhausting, and worse, it slowly convinces you that you're the unstable one. Here's the truth. Accountability is a form of respect. When someone refuses to own their actions, they are showing you that your feelings, experiences, and boundaries don't matter. They prioritize their comfort over your well-being. And when they refuse to carry their share of the relationship, you end up carrying it for both of you until you collapse. The Stoic response is clarity, not conflict. You don't argue with someone who has no intention of acknowledging the truth. You observe the pattern and step back. You set boundaries that protect your mental space. You stop accepting blame that doesn't belong to you. A relationship without accountability is not a partnership, it's a burden. And choosing distance from someone who always makes you the problem is not cruelty. It's self-respect. Blame is their weapon. Clarity is your shield. 3. They only come to you when they need something. There is a kind of relationship that feels warm only when the other person wants something from you. Your time, your attention, your emotional labor, your money, your support. When they're struggling, lonely, bored, or in crisis, suddenly you matter. Messages come faster, calls become frequent, their tone softens, but the moment their problem passes, they disappear. The warmth fades, the interest vanishes, and you're left wondering why you always feel useful but never truly valued. This isn't connection, it's convenience, and convenience is not friendship. People who use others often disguise it well. They frame it as needing advice, wanting to talk, or reaching out because you're the only one who understands. But pay attention to the pattern. Do they ever check on you without needing something? Do they celebrate your wins? Or do they only appear when they need relief from their own chaos? Stoic philosophy teaches that a healthy relationship is built on mutual contribution, not one-sided extraction. Seneca wrote that true friendship is rooted in virtue, not utility. Someone who only shows up when it benefits them is not a friend. They are a taker wearing a friendly mask. Their presence in your life is conditional, transactional, and deeply draining. The hidden danger is how subtly these relationships turn you into a rescuer. You answer every call out of guilt. You drop everything to help, even when you're exhausted. You invest emotionally in their instability while they invest nothing in your stability. And when you finally need support, they're nowhere to be found. Or worse, they tell you they're busy, overwhelmed, or can't handle this right now. This imbalance slowly erodes your self-worth. You begin to believe your role in people's lives is to fix, support, rescue, and sacrifice. You forget that you deserve reciprocity too. You deserve someone who cares about your well-being, even when they don't need anything from you. The Stoic approach here is simple and grounded. Watch actions, not promises. Someone who truly values you shows up consistently, not only when it suits them. Set boundaries with people who take more than they give. Reduce your availability to those who appear only when it's convenient. And remind yourself of this truth: your time, your energy, and your peace are limited resources. They are not public property. If someone only knocks on your door when they want something, they're not choosing you. They're choosing the benefits you provide. And that is not a relationship you're obligated to maintain. Your energy is valuable. Protect it. 4. They treat your boundaries like a joke. There is no clearer form of disrespect than someone repeatedly ignoring or mocking the limits you set to protect your peace. A boundary is not a request. It's not a suggestion. It is a clear line that defines what is acceptable to you, a line drawn from self-respect. But to some people, your boundaries are just obstacles. They believe they can push past them, bend them, or laugh their way around them. When you speak up, they respond with sarcasm. Relax. It's not that serious. I was just joking. Notice the pattern. Instead of acknowledging your discomfort, they dismiss it. Instead of adjusting their behavior, they make you feel guilty for asking for basic respect. They turn your limits into a punchline because honoring them would require emotional maturity and self-awareness, qualities they may lack or simply refuse to develop. Stoic philosophy teaches that while we can't control how others behave, we can control what we allow. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that dignity is protected through action, not explanation. A boundary only works when it is enforced, not endlessly justified. When someone repeatedly ignores your limits, they aren't confused, they are testing you. And each time you let it slide, you teach them that the test is worth repeating. Slowly, a dangerous dynamic forms. You become the one constantly adjusting. You soften your tone to avoid conflict. You tolerate behavior that drains you. You start believing that asking for respect makes you difficult or demanding. Before you realize it, the relationship revolves entirely around their comfort, not your well-being. Healthy people don't behave this way. Healthy people listen when you say, "This hurts me," or "This isn't okay." They don't debate your boundary. They respect it because they value the relationship more than the convenience of crossing your line. When someone treats your boundaries like a joke, what they're really saying is, "My preferences matter more than your peace." And no relationship can survive that imbalance. The Stoic response is calm, firm, and action-based. You state the boundary once, clearly. You observe their behavior, and if they continue to cross the line, you withdraw access, your time, your attention, your emotional presence. You don't argue. You don't negotiate endlessly. You protect yourself. Because the truth is simple. When someone ignores your boundaries, they aren't misunderstanding you. They are revealing who they are. And when they refuse to honor your limits, they lose the privilege of your presence. 5. They feel envious when you succeed. One of the most painful realizations in life is discovering that someone close to you doesn't truly want to see you win. They may smile when you share good news, but you can feel the shift. The forced enthusiasm, the tightness in their voice, the subtle change in energy. Instead of genuine joy, there's discomfort beneath the surface. Envy is quiet, but it's never invisible. You see it in how they respond to your progress. When something good happens, they downplay it or immediately compare it to someone else. When you mention a new opportunity, they focus on why it might not work. When you achieve something meaningful, They redirect the conversation back to themselves or make a comment that dulls your moment. They rarely say, "I'm proud of you," without attaching their own struggles, sacrifices, or disappointments. It's a subtle way of turning your achievement into an inconvenience. The Stoics understood this well. Envy doesn't come from another person's success. It comes from unresolved insecurity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that people are pulled toward envy by their own inner suffering. Meaning envy is never really about you. It's about what they refuse to confront within themselves. Your growth exposes what they've avoided. Your confidence highlights their self-doubt. Your progress threatens the stories they tell themselves. And envy becomes dangerous when it turns into quiet sabotage. They may discourage your ambitions, plant doubt, minimize your accomplishments, or speak about you behind your back. Publicly supportive, privately resentful, and when that person is family or a longtime friend, the betrayal cuts deeper because the bond was supposed to feel safe. You cannot build a peaceful life surrounded by people who secretly hope you stay small. When those around you feel threatened by your growth, you will unconsciously shrink yourself. You'll share less, dream less, dim your light just to keep them comfortable. But your life is not meant to be limited by someone else's insecurity. The Stoic response isn't resentment or confrontation, it's quiet protection. You share less. You guard your goals. You choose to be around people who celebrate your wins sincerely, not conditionally. A true friend doesn't compete with you. They rise alongside you. And when someone's support disappears the moment you rise, believe what that silence is telling you. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your success. 6. You always feel like you're walking on eggshells. A relationship becomes emotionally unsafe the moment you realize you're no longer being yourself. When every word must be calculated, every reaction measured, every truth softened, and every emotion buried just to keep the peace. At that point, you're not in a relationship anymore. You're standing in a psychological minefield. Walking on eggshells isn't sensitivity, it's fear. And fear has no place around someone who genuinely cares about you. You recognize this pattern. Before you speak, you rehearse every sentence in your mind. Before you disagree, you calculate how they might react. Before you express anything real, you ask yourself, will this upset them? Will they twist this? Will I pay a price for being honest? Your nervous system stays on high alert, constantly scanning for mood shifts, tone changes, or emotional traps. This isn't connection, it's survival. People who create this kind of environment often rely on subtle emotional control, guilt trips, unpredictable reactions, passive-aggressive remarks, sudden silence, or using your vulnerabilities as weapons. Their inconsistency keeps you off balance. Their moods set the emotional climate, and instead of managing their own instability, they make you responsible for regulating it. You become the caretaker of their chaos. Stoic philosophy warns against giving anyone this much power over your inner state. Epictetus taught that the deepest form of slavery is emotional dependence on another person's moods, judgments, or approval. When you constantly reshape yourself to avoid upsetting someone, you slowly lose your autonomy. Over time, you lose your voice. You lose your sense of self. You become a version of yourself shaped by fear instead of virtue. Healthy relationships don't require you to shrink. They don't punish honesty, silence your opinions, or make you feel unsafe for expressing yourself. In a healthy dynamic, disagreement isn't a threat, it's dialogue. Emotions aren't weapons, they're signals. Honesty isn't dangerous, it's welcomed. When someone makes you feel like you must tiptoe around them, it's because they benefit from your silence. They benefit from your hesitation. They benefit from the quiet control they hold without ever admitting it. The Stoic response is clarity paired with courage. You begin observing without reacting. You separate their emotions from your responsibility. You speak calmly, firmly, and truthfully. And most importantly, you allow distance to grow where fear has taken root. No peace is worth the cost of losing yourself. If you cannot relax around someone you claim to love, that isn't love. It's emotional captivity. Peace is never found where you must constantly make yourself smaller just to feel safe. 7. They do not respect your time, effort, or priorities. One of the most subtle yet damaging forms of disrespect is when someone repeatedly treats your time, commitments, and responsibilities as unimportant. They show up late without apology. They cancel plans at the last minute. They expect you to rearrange your schedule for their convenience. They interrupt your work, dismiss what matters to you, and make you feel guilty for not being available on demand. This isn't forgetfulness, it isn't personality, it's entitlement. People who truly value you understand that time is life. When they disregard your time, they are disregarding your life. They assume your world should revolve around theirs. They expect flexibility from you while offering none in return. And when you express frustration, they accuse you of overthinking instead of acknowledging the impact of their behavior. Stoic philosophy teaches that time is our most valuable possession. Seneca wrote that people guard their money fiercely while wasting their time carelessly, even though time is the one thing we can never recover. Someone who repeatedly intrudes on your time, dismisses your effort, or treats your priorities as optional is showing you exactly how much they respect you. The danger is how quietly this conditions you to devalue yourself. You start adjusting your schedule to avoid conflict. You abandon plans out of obligation. You place their needs above your own goals. You apologize for being busy, for having ambitions, for having a life outside of them. Slowly, you shrink your world to fit theirs. Meanwhile, they continue freely, unaffected and unaware of the sacrifices you keep making. Healthy people don't do this. Healthy people honor your commitments. They appreciate your effort. They respect your work, your routines, your goals, and your time boundaries. They don't expect instant replies, emotional labor on demand, or last-minute changes that cost you your peace. The Stoic response is to reclaim control of your time with calm firmness. You stop over-explaining. You stop reshuffling your schedule. You stop apologizing for having boundaries. You begin using simple, clear statements. I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. I already have plans. Not with anger, with clarity. When someone respects you, they adjust. When they don't, they resist. And that reaction tells you everything you need to know about whether this relationship deserves space in your life. If your time is always negotiable to them but theirs is sacred, you're not being treated as an equal. You're being treated as a convenience. Your time is sacred, protected from those who waste it. 8. You feel more peaceful when you distance yourself from them. Sometimes the clearest sign that a relationship has ended isn't something they say or do. It's how your body responds when you step back. Pay attention to the quiet truth within you. If your mind feels calmer, your chest feels lighter, and your days feel clearer when you're away from someone, that isn't coincidence. That is inner wisdom speaking. Peace is data. Relief is evidence. Think back to the last time you spent time with this person. Did you walk away feeling tense, drained, or unsettled? Did your mind replay the conversation on a loop, searching for mistakes, wondering if you said too much or not enough? Did you feel like you needed time alone just to recover your energy? Those reactions aren't overthinking. They're signals. Healthy relationships don't leave you depleted. Real connection doesn't create anxiety. Love doesn't feel like obligation, confusion, or emotional exhaustion. What usually happens is subtle. You start shrinking parts of yourself without realizing it. You measure your words, you limit your joy, you hold back your dreams, not because anyone demanded it outright, but because distance feels safer than expression. That's your nervous system telling the truth long before your mind is ready to accept it. Stoic philosophy teaches that the soul instinctively recognizes what aligns with virtue and what slowly erodes it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what is good for your nature brings harmony, what is not brings disturbance. Peace becomes the compass. When someone's presence creates chaos, but their absence creates clarity, the relationship is already speaking for itself. People who belong in your life add stability, calm, and encouragement. They don't bring constant tension, unpredictability, or self-doubt. They don't force you into emotional recovery mode after every interaction. The imbalance you feel is not a flaw in you. It's information. The real danger is ignoring it. Many people stay in draining relationships out of guilt, habit, or loyalty to history. But loyalty to your past should never cost you your future. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your mind or your energy if their presence damages your inner world. Distance is not punishment, it's protection. Space is not cruelty, it's clarity. The Stoic response is simple and grounded. You trust the evidence of your peace. You honor your emotional reality without apology. You create distance without drama. You choose environments and relationships that keep you aligned with your highest self, and you allow what harms you to fade without chasing closure or explanations. If distance brings you back to yourself, that relationship was costing you too much. Peace is the proof. Always trust it. Here's what all of this comes down to. Relationships are meant to strengthen you, not drain you. They should bring clarity, not confusion. Growth, not guilt. Peace, not emotional chaos. When the people closest to you repeatedly cross your boundaries, minimize your feelings, take without giving, or require you to shrink just to stay connected, that is not love. That is erosion, and erosion, if ignored long enough, destroys everything from the inside out. Stoic philosophy reminds us that protecting your inner world is not selfish, it is responsible. Marcus Aurelius wrote that your mind is your kingdom, and it must be guarded like something sacred. Walking away from those who damage your peace isn't cruelty, it's maturity. It's the decision to stop negotiating your worth with people who never intended to value it. You now have 8 unmistakable signs, 8 moments of truth that reveal when a relationship has crossed the line from meaningful to harmful. If even one of them resonated with you, don't ignore that instinct. Your peace is speaking. Choose clarity over guilt, strength over attachment, inner peace over outdated loyalty. And remember this, distance doesn't break real relationships. It only exposes the ones that were never real to begin with. If this message resonated with you, like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and comment below, "I choose peace."